At 7:50 in the evening, the most familiar silhouette in Paris broke apart. Notre Dame's burning spire leaned, folded, and vanished into the cathedral below. For a few seconds, it seemed as if 8 centuries of history were collapsing with it. The medieval roof was gone. The lead covering had melted. Sections of stone vaulting had fallen. Above the nave, there was only smoke and open sky. Yet 5 years later, the same spire stood above Paris again, and the doors of Notre Dame reopened. The transformation looks almost impossible. Intact cathedral, falling spire, burned skeleton, restored monument. But the real story is hidden above the vaults, inside a structure visitors will rarely see. A medieval forest rebuilt over Paris. Notre Dame had survived revolutions, wars, neglect, pollution, and centuries of alteration. The fire attacked something more fragile than its towers, its hidden wooden heart. The roof frame over the nave and choir dated largely from the 13th century. Its thousands of timbers had earned a haunting name, La Forêt, the forest. Some of those oaks had begun growing before the cathedral itself was built. Once shaped and raised, they carried the roof for nearly 800 years. Above that medieval framework rose the spire designed by Eugene Viollet-le-Duc in the 19th century, a masterpiece of timber and lead that defined modern Paris. When the fire reached the roof, the dry timbers became an immense furnace hidden behind lead and stone. Heat climbed into the spire. Its oak skeleton weakened. Then the structure fell through the crossing, tearing open the center of the cathedral. The stone vaults performed the task medieval builders had given them. They separated the wooden roof from the sacred interior below. Most held, several did not. Burning beams and the falling spire punched holes through the crossing, nave, and north transept. Below, firefighters fought to keep the flames from entering the bell towers. If the great bells and their wooden supports had fallen, the western facade might have followed. At the same time, a human chain carried relics, artworks, and liturgical objects away from danger. By dawn, Notre Dame was still standing. But standing was not the same as being safe. The heat had shocked the limestone. Water had saturated walls and vaults. Lead dust coated surfaces. The cathedral had become a vast, unstable laboratory. The first mission was not reconstruction. It was survival. Engineers monitored movement in the walls and flying buttresses. Temporary timber supports braced windows, gables, and vaults weakened by fire. Rope access teams descended into spaces too dangerous for ordinary scaffolding, removing loose fragments one piece at a time. The most frightening obstacle was the old renovation scaffold that had surrounded the spire before the fire. 40,000 metal pieces had fused into a twisted cage. Workers spent months cutting it apart without allowing the mass to fall onto the weakened cathedral. Every fragment removed from the ruins was sorted, numbered, photographed, and studied, not treated as waste, but as evidence. The disaster had exposed parts of Notre Dame that no scholar had been able to reach before. Scientists analyzed burned wood, mortar, iron, stone, glass, and lead to understand how the cathedral had been built and how it had changed. Laser scans and digital models measured the monument to millimeters. Medieval irregularities that once seemed imperfect became essential instructions. The cathedral could not be rebuilt as a clean geometric copy. Its identity lived in centuries of subtle distortion, repair, and craftsmanship. Before the fire, architects had already completed a detailed survey of the medieval roof. That record became one of the restoration's most valuable maps. Then came the question that divided public imagination. Should Notre Dame return as it had been, or become something radically new? Ideas appeared for glass canopies, gardens, beams of light, and contemporary spires. The fire had opened a literal space for invention. But Notre Dame is not an isolated object. Its silhouette belongs to the city, and its materials carry the logic of the structure beneath them. In 2020 and 2021, France approved a faithful restoration: oak for the frames, lead for the covering, and Viollet-le-Duc's spire returned to the sky. The decision did not mean freezing history. It meant reconstructing two different histories at once. The nave and choir would recover the logic of their 13th-century frames. The transept and spire would return to the 19th-century design destroyed in 2019. To rebuild the forest, France first had to find a forest. The required trees could not be ordinary construction timber. Some beams demanded trunks that were exceptionally straight, tall, wide, and structurally sound. More than 2,000 oaks were ultimately used for the spire and the great roof frames, drawn from forests across France. Many were between 80 and 150 years old. A few had grown for more than 2 centuries. Each selected tree was recorded and traced. Its journey, from forest to sawmill to workshop to cathedral, became part of the project. The felling itself carried symbolism. A living tree was becoming a structural line that might remain above Paris for centuries. Sawmills transformed enormous logs into structural sections while preserving enough material for carpenters to follow the natural grain. For the medieval frames, carpenters revived a technique called squaring, shaping beams with axes rather than forcing every piece into industrial uniformity. The axe follows the fibers. The result is not perfectly smooth, and that is precisely the point. Strength remains aligned with the tree. Other pieces were cut with modern machines when precision, repetition, or complex geometry demanded it. This was not medieval reenactment. It was a deliberate alliance between ancient material knowledge and modern control. Every joint had to meet its partner without relying on a forest of steel connectors. Timbers were marked, cut, and assembled flat on the ground in full-scale trials known as blank assemblies. If a joint resisted, the problem was solved before the structure ever reached the cathedral. The 19th-century spire demanded another language: denser geometry, sweeping curves, openwork floors, and a structure engineered to rise 96 meters above the ground. Its reconstruction required massive oak members, specialized lifting plans, and exact copies of Viollet-le-Duc's ornamental lead work. On the roof, stonemasons first repaired the places where heat, falling timber, and water had weakened the vaults and walls. New limestone had to match the original not only in color, but in density, porosity, and behavior under load. Mortar recipes were tested so repaired masonry could move, breathe, and age with the old structure rather than fight against it. Then the first great trusses began their journey to Paris. In July 2023, enormous transept trusses traveled along the Seine on a barge, approaching the cathedral as their medieval predecessors never could. A crane lifted each assembly above the stone vaults, while teams guided tons of timber into positions measured to the centimeter. One by one, more than 100 trusses rebuilt the great roof structure over the nave, choir, and transept. From inside, the new forest looked startlingly pale. Time had not yet darkened the oak. The marks of hand tools remained visible, not as decoration, but as a record of how the structure had been made. At the crossing, the rebuilt spire climbed through layers of scaffolding until its shape emerged over the city. Lead sheets and ornaments gradually covered the oak, recreating the metallic skin that had reflected Parisian weather for generations. In December 2023, a new golden rooster was lifted to the summit. Notre-Dame had recovered its vertical line. By early 2024, the structural rebuilding of the roof frames was complete. But the cathedral below was still a second world of restoration. The grand organ had escaped the flames, but lead dust had entered its mechanism and settled across thousands of pipes. Its 8,000 pipes were removed, cleaned, repaired, returned, and tuned to the renewed acoustics of the building. Stained glass windows were examined and cleaned. Stone sculpture was stabilized. Metalwork, paintings, and carved choir screens returned from specialist workshops. Inside the cathedral, centuries of dust and candle residue were lifted from walls, columns, and painted chapels. The result surprised even people who knew Notre Dame well. The interior did not return darker. It returned luminous. 24 chapels recovered colors and details that had been muted for generations. The cathedral's famous rose windows survived, but their surrounding stone, ironwork, and glass required patient inspection and care. New fire detection, misting, compartmentation, and access systems were integrated discreetly, designed to protect the old monument without visually transforming it. The rebuilt cathedral, therefore, looks historical, but it is washed by 21st-century systems the medieval builders could never have imagined. Outside, the final scaffolds withdrew, revealing the familiar spire, copper statues, roof lines, and pale stone once concealed by smoke. On December 7th and 8th, 2024, Notre-Dame reopened after 5 years of silence, danger, argument, science, and craft. The doors opened onto a cathedral that was both recognizable and unfamiliar, the same Gothic volume, but newly visible. The spire had returned. The forest had returned. The organ spoke again. Yet reconstruction did not erase the fire. Charred fragments, scientific records, and new materials preserve the memory of what happened. Notre Dame now carries 2 forests above its vaults. The vanished medieval one remembered in evidence, and the new one built for centuries still to come. Its rebirth was not the work of a single architect or a single technology. It was the work of forests, quarries, workshops, laboratories, river barges, cranes, hands, measurements, and choices made under extraordinary pressure. The deepest achievement is not that the cathedral looks untouched. It is that the path from destruction to restoration can still be read in every new beam. Above Paris, a medieval idea has been built again, not as a replica without memory, but as a structure carrying the memory of its loss. 5 years after the flames, Notre Dame did more than reopen. It proved that the past can survive when knowledge, patience, and human skill are allowed to meet.